The gym smelled of rubber mats and cleaning solution mixed with sweat. Sarah Chen pushed through the glass doors at 6 a.m., her body still aching from yesterday's physical therapy session. The doctors had cleared her for light exercise, emphasis on light, but after 6 months of recovery, she was desperate to move again. She'd chosen Peak Performance Gym specifically because their website promised personalized training for all fitness levels. What she hadn't expected was the look of disdain that crossed trainer Jake Morrison's face when she approached the front desk. Jake was everything the fitness industry loved: tall, muscular, with the kind of Instagram-ready physique that attracted clients and sponsors. At 28, he'd built a reputation as the gym's most demanding trainer, someone who didn't waste time on people who weren't serious. Sarah handed him her new member paperwork. "Hi, I'm Sarah." "I signed up for the introductory training session?" Jake barely glanced at the form. His eyes traveled over her loose workout clothes, the slight limp in her gait, the way she moved carefully as if testing her own body's limits. "Yeah, okay," he said, his tone already dismissive. "Let's see what we're working with." He led her to the main floor where morning regulars were already deep into their routines. The equipment gleamed under bright lights. Motivational posters lined the walls. Everything screamed high performance and peak physical condition. "All right, let's start with a basic assessment," Jake said, clipboard in hand. "Show me your best squat." Sarah positioned herself carefully, mindful of the pins in her left leg, the scar tissue that still pulled when she moved wrong. She lowered into a controlled squat, not deep, not fast, but technically perfect for someone in recovery. Jake made a note, his expression unimpressed. "That's it? Can you go lower?" "I'm recovering from an injury," Sarah explained. "My doctor said—" "Everyone has an excuse," Jake interrupted. "If you want results, you have to push through discomfort." Sarah felt the familiar frustration rising. She'd heard this before. Well-meaning people who didn't understand the difference between training pain and injury pain, between pushing limits and destroying progress. "I understand that," she said carefully. "But there's a difference between discomfort and risking re-injury." "Look," Jake cut her off again, "I'm going to be honest with you. This gym caters to serious athletes, people who are committed to transformation. If you're going to make excuses about every exercise, maybe you'd be better off at one of those gentle yoga studios." A few nearby gym members glanced over, sensing conflict. Sarah felt heat creeping up her neck, not from embarrassment but from anger she was working hard to control. "I am a serious athlete," she said quietly. Jake's laugh was sharp and condescending. "No offense, but looking at you, I don't think—" "I'm an Olympic gold medalist," Sarah said, her voice still calm but now carrying an edge. "Synchronized swimming, Rio 2016. Jake's expression shifted from dismissive to skeptical. "Sure you are." "And I'm Michael Phelps." Sarah pulled out her phone, scrolling to her photo gallery. She held up an image, her on the podium, gold medal around her neck, American flag draped over her shoulders. The same face, but younger, stronger, radiant with victory. Jake's smirk faltered slightly, but he didn't back down. "Okay, so you won something years ago. That was then. This is now, and right now you look like someone who gave up." The words hung in the air like a slap. Around them, other gym members had stopped pretending not to listen. Sarah felt all eyes on her, waiting to see how she'd respond. "I gave up?" Sarah's voice was dangerously quiet. "I spent 8 years training 6 hours a day. I held my breath underwater until my lungs screamed. I perfected routines so precise that being off by a fraction of a second meant failure. I won Olympic gold at 22 inches. She took a step closer to Jake, her limp barely noticeable now as adrenaline pushed past the pain. "Then, 9 months ago, I was hit by a drunk driver. Shattered femur, broken pelvis, 3 surgeries. Doctors said I might never walk without assistance again." Jake's face had gone pale, but Sarah wasn't finished. "For 6 months, my training was learning to sit up without screaming. My victory was taking 5 steps without crying." My goal was to stand long enough to brush my own teeth. Her voice grew stronger, each word precisely delivered. So, when I walked into this gym today, walked under my own power, without a cane, I was celebrating. I was ready to start rebuilding. I was excited to begin training again. She gestured around the gym, at the posters shouting motivational phrases, at the equipment designed for peak performance. Your website says you train all fitness levels. It says you understand that everyone's journey is different. It says you meet people where they are. She turned back to Jake, her Olympic discipline evident in every controlled movement. But what I found was a trainer so focused on aesthetics and able-bodied performance that he can't see dedication when it's standing right in front of him. Jake opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. I didn't know. You didn't ask, Sarah corrected. You saw someone who didn't meet your standards and decided they weren't worth your time. You know what that is? That's not being a tough trainer. That's being a bad trainer. A woman on a nearby treadmill slowed to a stop. A man doing bicep curls set down his weights. The gym had gone quiet except for the hum of ventilation and the distant thud of someone's running shoes. Jake's face had gone from pale to red. Look, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. That's the problem, Sarah interrupted. You didn't realize because you didn't care to find out. Every person who walks through that door has a story, has struggles, has victories you can't see just by looking at them. She picked up her water bottle, preparing to leave. I've trained with Olympic coaches, world-class physical therapists, sports medicine specialists, and you know what they all had in common? They asked questions. They listened. They understood that strength comes in many forms. Jake looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Other trainers had emerged from the back offices, drawn by the commotion. The gym manager, a woman in her 40s, was approaching quickly. Is everything all right here? The manager asked, her eyes darting between Sarah and Jake. Your trainer just told an Olympic athlete that she looks like someone who gave up. Someone called out from the weight area. Others murmured agreement. The manager's expression shifted from concerned to mortified. Ms. Chen, I am so sorry. If you'd known I was Olympic level, you'd treat me better? Sarah asked. What about everyone else? What about the person recovering from a heart attack? The new mom trying to regain strength? The cancer survivor rebuilding after chemo? She looked directly at Jake. Do they deserve contempt because they're not at their peak? Do they deserve mockery because they're struggling? The manager placed a hand on Jake's shoulder, her grip tight enough to make him wince. Mr. Morrison, my office. Now. Wait, Jake said, his voice smaller now. Can I apologize properly? Sarah studied him for a moment. The arrogance had crumbled, replaced by what looked like genuine remorse. But she'd seen too many people apologize when caught, only to return to old behaviors once the spotlight moved. You can apologize by changing, she said, by remembering this moment the next time someone walks in who doesn't look like your ideal client. By asking questions instead of making assumptions. By understanding that fitness isn't just about being the strongest or fastest. It's about becoming better than you were yesterday. She turned to the manager. I'd like a refund on my membership. Of course, the manager said quickly. And I'd like to offer you 6 months free, with a different trainer, if you're willing. I'll think about it, Sarah said, though they both knew she wouldn't be back. As Sarah headed toward the exit, a middle-aged woman approached her. Excuse me, she said quietly. I'm Janet. I started here 2 months ago after cancer treatment. That trainer, she gestured at Jake. He made me feel like garbage for not being able to lift heavy weights yet. Sarah stopped, seeing the emotion in Janet's eyes. You're not garbage, Sarah said firmly. You survived cancer. You're here trying to rebuild. That takes more strength than any deadlift. Janet's eyes welled up. Thank you. I needed to hear that. 2 other people approached, a young man with a prosthetic leg, an older gentleman with a walker. Each had a story of being dismissed or discouraged by trainers who valued aesthetics over actual achievement. Sarah found herself standing in the gym lobby surrounded by people who'd felt invisible. People whose victories, walking without pain, lifting their grandchild, climbing stairs without stopping, were real and significant, but dismissed by an industry obsessed with transformation photos and before-and-after drama. The manager appeared again, looking genuinely distressed. "Ms. Chen, I had no idea this was happening. If you'd be willing to speak with our ownership team—" "Why?" Sarah asked. "So you can fix the problem now that an Olympian called you out? What about all these people?" She gestured to the small crowd around her. "They've been telling you there was a problem." Did anyone listen? The manager had no answer. Sarah made a decision. She pulled out her phone and opened her social media. Instagram account with 847,000 followers, Twitter with 2.1 million, TikTok with 3.5 million. The perks of being an Olympic gold medalist in the age of social media. "I'm going to post about this experience," she said, "not to destroy your gym, but because this problem exists everywhere. Fitness culture has become toxic. It's pushed out the people who need it most because they don't fit some ideal aesthetic." She began typing, her followers' count visible on the screen. The manager and several trainers watched in growing horror. "Wait," the manager pleaded. "Give us a chance to fix this. We can implement new training protocols, sensitivity requirements." "Good," Sarah said, still typing. "Do that. And I'll follow up in 3 months to see if you actually changed or if this was just damage control." She hit post. Within seconds, comments began flooding in. Other athletes sharing their own experiences of being judged. Everyday people describing how they'd been discouraged from fitness because they didn't look the part. Jake stood apart from the group, watching his career implode in real time. He'd built his reputation on being tough, uncompromising, elite. Now he was becoming infamous for being exactly those things, in the worst possible way. Sarah's phone buzzed with a call. She glanced at the screen. Coach Martinez, her Olympic coach, probably already seeing the posts. "I have to take this," she said, stepping outside. "Pequeña campeona." Coach Martinez's warm voice filled her ear. "I saw your post. You okay?" "I'm fine, Coach. Just frustrated." "Of course you are. You know what that trainer doesn't understand? The hardest training you've ever done wasn't for Rio. It was the last 9 months. Sarah felt her throat tighten. "It has been hard. Getting back up after getting knocked down, that's the real test of an athlete. And you're doing it. I'm proud of you." After the call, Sarah sat in her car for a long moment. She'd come to the gym hoping to start her fitness journey again. Instead, she'd sparked a conversation about fitness culture that was already going viral. Her phone kept buzzing. News outlets requesting interviews. Other gyms offering partnerships. Fitness brands wanting her endorsement. The story was spreading fast. Olympic gold medalist humiliated by trainer fights back with truth. 3 days later, Peak Performance Gym held a press conference. Jake Morrison had been terminated. The gym announced new policies, mandatory training on working with diverse populations, partnerships with rehabilitation centers, programs specifically designed for people recovering from injuries or illness. The manager personally called Sarah. "We're implementing everything you suggested. We've hired consultants who specialize in adaptive fitness. We're becoming the gym we claimed to be." "Good," Sarah said, "but I'm not coming back." "I understand. But would you consider consulting, helping us train our trainers? We'll pay—" "I'll do it," Sarah interrupted. "Not for money. For everyone who's been made to feel like they don't belong in fitness spaces." The consulting work opened Sarah's eyes to how widespread the problem was. Gym after gym, trainer after trainer, all operating on the same toxic assumptions. Fitness was for the already fit. Strength was only for the strong-looking, and anyone who didn't meet aesthetic standards wasn't trying hard enough. She began developing programs specifically for adaptive fitness, working with physical therapists, doctors, and other athletes who'd faced setbacks, creating training protocols that met people where they were, not where some ideal said they should be. 6 months after the gym incident, Sarah was invited to speak at a national fitness conference. The same conference where, Just a year earlier, she'd been in the audience as a celebrated athlete. Now she took the stage with a different message. "I won Olympic gold," she began, "and that was incredible. But it's not my greatest achievement." The audience leaned forward. "My greatest achievement was taking my first step after doctors said I might not walk again. My greatest achievement is right now, standing here, pain-free, strong, rebuilt." She showed before and after photos, but not the kind fitness culture celebrated. These showed surgical scars, physical therapy sessions, small victories like standing without assistance. We've created a fitness culture that celebrates the wrong things, that worships aesthetics over health, that values performance over progress, that makes people feel like failures for not meeting arbitrary standards. Her voice grew stronger. But real fitness, real strength? It's the cancer survivor who walks a mile. It's the heart attack patient who climbs stairs. It's the new parent who does a single push-up. It's every person who shows up despite pain, despite fear, despite a world telling them they're not enough. The applause started slowly, then built to a standing ovation. After her speech, a young trainer approached, barely 22, fresh out of certification programs. "I'm just starting out," he said. "What's the most important thing I should know?" Sarah thought about Jake Morrison, about all the trainers who'd valued image over impact. "Ask questions," she said. "Listen to answers. Understand that every person in front of you is fighting battles you can't see. Your job isn't to judge, it's to guide. It's to meet people where they are and help them get where they want to go." She smiled. "And never, ever assume you know someone's story just by looking at them. The person you dismiss today might be the one who teaches you what real strength looks like tomorrow." The young trainer nodded seriously, taking notes. Jake Morrison eventually reached out with a genuine apology. He'd taken courses on adaptive fitness, volunteered with Paralympic athletes, and was working at a rehabilitation center, no longer training elite athletes, but helping people recover from injuries. "I was everything you said I was," he wrote. "Arrogant, judgmental, focused on the wrong things. Thank you for calling me out. It destroyed my ego, but it saved my integrity." Sarah never responded. Some lessons had to be learned through consequences, not forgiveness. A year after the incident, Sarah competed again, not in the Olympics, but in an adaptive sports exhibition. Her event combined elements of her old sport with accommodations for her injury. She didn't win, didn't need to. Standing on the deck, body still healing but stronger than 6 months ago, she realized something. The trainer who'd mocked her had given her a gift, though he'd never meant to. He'd reminded her that real strength wasn't about being the fastest, strongest, or most physically perfect. It was about showing up when showing up is hard. It was about rebuilding when everything's broken. It was about defining your own victory instead of accepting someone else's definition. As she dove into the water, her body remembered the movement. Imperfect now, but hers. And that was enough. If this story resonated with you, remember, fitness is for every body. Strength comes in countless forms. And the bravest thing you can do is show up as you are, not as someone thinks you should be. Share this with someone who's been made to feel like they don't belong in fitness spaces. Remind them that their journey is valid, their progress is real, and their presence matters. Subscribe to Real Justice Stories for more tales of resilience, dignity, and the power of standing up to toxic systems, especially when those systems have hurt you most. Thank you for watching. Remember, never judge someone's dedication by their appearance. The person struggling today might be recovering from battles you'll never understand. Show respect. Show compassion. Show up better than that trainer did.